Away from the crisis between Russia and Ukraine, French President Emmanuel Macron says more police will be deployed after 3 nights of riots across France. An entire building burned down in northern French town of Roubaix during the most destructive night of rioting yet in protest at the fatal shooting of a teenager by police. Nearby, several cars were also burnt and the windows of a supermarket smashed. Authorities say hundreds of police were injured and hundreds of people arrested overnight as rioters clashed with officers in towns and cities across France. Buildings and vehicles were torched, storefronts damaged and buses overturned. A check on the weather. Torrential rain in South Korea triggered a landslide that killed a 1-year-old baby and forced hundreds of families to evacuate as it flooded roads and bridges. The death was the second since the summer rainy season began earlier this week after a landslide buried the baby's home in the city of Yeongju, southeast of Seoul, overnight. According to authorities, rescuers pulled 10 people, including the child, to safety after the 10-ton landslide hit the home, with fire authorities deploying more than 40 vehicles and 110 firefighters, but the baby died soon after being sent to the hospital. Meanwhile, South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol has picked a conservative scholar and an outspoken critic of North Korea's human rights record as the country's new unification minister, handling relations with Pyongyang in a cabinet reshuffle. The nomination of Kim Yong-ho, a political science professor at Songsin Women's University, comes as soon as Yoon has been seeking to turn the spotlight on human rights abuses in North Korea. 63-year-old Kim served as the presidential secretary for unification and a human rights envoy under the conservative Lee Myung-bak and Park Geun-hye administration. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says he has dropped a central element of a bitterly contested plan to roll back Supreme Court powers that has roiled Israel for months, though he was still pursuing changes to the way judges are selected. In a filmed interview posted on the Wall Street Journal website earlier today, Mr. Netanyahu said he was no longer seeking to grant Parliament the authority to overturn Supreme Court rulings.
Concerned also with the possibility that systems that we would give to Ukraine would fall in I already changed a few things right after the original proposal was put forward. I said that the idea of an override clause where the Parliament, the Knesset, can override the decisions of the Supreme Court with a simple majority, I threw that out. And I think it's very clear that the way of choosing judges is not going to be it's not going to be the current structure, but it's not going to be the original structure. I think they're aware of our concerns, and I think it's important to understand that we're concerned also with the possibility that systems that we would give to Ukraine would fall into Iranian hands and could be reverse engineered, and we would find ourselves facing Israeli systems used against Israel. Now, if that system were to fall in the hands of Iran, then the millions of Israelis would be left defenseless and imperiled.
And coming up after the break, Germany's longest pedestrian suspension bridge opens after 6 years of planning and constructions. We'll bring you details in a moment. Please stay with us. Welcome back. The Nyala Turkish-Sudanese Teaching Hospital continues to provide medical services despite the ongoing clashes in the country. However, the hospital, which opened in 2014, is struggling to provide basic services to all of its patients. The hospital's medical director, Solomon Amadi, says the facility receives very few medical tools and lacks many medical treatments. The director is urging authorities to provide urgent needs and basic equipment to keep the hospital running again. Sudan descended into chaos after fighting erupted in mid-April between the military led by General Abdel Fattah Burhan and the paramilitary rapid support forces commanded by General Mohammed Hamdan Dagalo.
Since fighting erupted in mid-April
And Mozambique has been touted as a successful example of the important role of an African solution for African problems. After 3 years of implementation of a reconciliation agreement, the last Renamo military base was closed on June the 15th as a remarkable step towards peace. Shortly after gaining independence from Portugal in 1975, a 16-year civil war in Mozambique began. Fighting between the rebel Renamo and the ruling Frelimo party was put to an end in 1992 by a UN-mediated peace agreement, but unresolved issues led Renamo to pick up weapons again in 2012. Peace processes were revived again, and the latest outcome on June the 23rd, the Mozambican government and the country's main opposition party, Renamo, held an event in Maputo to mark the end of the disarmament, demobilization and reintegration of Renamo militants. Personal envoy of the United Nations Secretary General for Mozambique, Miko Manzoni, believes the country's efforts to seek peace are worth learning.
African solution for African problem. Mozambique is really an example of that. We are still a bit arrogant and very paternalistic with Africa. And this is where sometimes we have the wrong approach with this continent, which is teaching us very much if we are capable to learn. But that's the big mistake.
And here in Nigeria, it's not uncommon to find several people walking around galleries in Lagos admiring paintings and other works of art. Now, there's an exciting new form of art in a space some consider saturated in the Nigerian market. Visual artist Olowife is the author of this form in Lagos, the commercial capital, where he uses augmented reality to breathe life into his art pieces.
A man in a green and white collared jacket rocks his body to the tune of a flutist he is watching on his phone camera. Not too far from him, another one listens as a woman in a colorful hijab is praised by an admirer for her beauty, butterflies dancing around her head. These are visitors admiring visual artist Olowuife's creations at an art studio in Nigeria's commercial capital, Lagos.
The art was talking to me, like checking this art behind me, smoking a cigarette. Imagine your art smoking a cigarette, someone coming to light it up. You see some other arts playing the flute. You see another art, cars moving, like an artwork is having cars moving. You hear sounds like Oju Elegba, very iconic places in Lagos, you understand? You see another art all about Eco Bridge, Eco Market, sorry. You hear the whole noise, people selling and all of that. You see another iconic place like Makoko. You get, so it's an experience you need to experience.
Olowife stumbled on AR in 2020 during the COVID-19 pandemic. He got so fascinated with it and started thinking of ways to infuse it with his art.
I was fascinated by the technology. Then I thought about how do I infuse it in my artwork to stand out? Because basically we've been seeing the normal paint on canvas, we've been seeing people come up with different styles, different museum, different movements. I said, okay, let me create my own movement entirely. Do something unique, do something extraordinary. So, I decided to infuse the AR technology into my paintings, whereby I bring them to life.
AR is a technology that combines computer-based images on a screen with the real object or scene. Faith Omotayo is a first-time guest.
The artworks are very amazing. I was not expecting what I met. I was expecting something ordinary, but I met something extraordinary.
After painting, Olowu takes high-resolution photos of his works and uploads them to his computer using an AR software to transform the art into an experience that can include music, a voiceover, or 3D animation. As guests arrive, they use their smartphones to scan an already generated barcode that allows them to use their phone camera to watch the displayed artworks interact with them.
I've been getting so many positive comments. You know, I have so many artists in my DM on IG asking me, oh, how do you make your paintings come to life and all? And I'm like, oh, you guys relax. I'm going to show you the way soon. Let me get my beard, let me get my footing and everything. So for the art lovers and the collectors, you know, people would be able to see hidden messages, you know, see hidden scripts, you know, see hidden magic in my canvas.
AR is rapidly becoming more mainstream amid innovation and better integration onto mobile devices, with the AR gaming market expected to reach a value of almost $300 billion by 2023. For Ife, he does not have to explain the intentions behind his paintings, as the AR lets people see beyond what is on the canvas. Ife is looking forward to a time when he can make AR glasses available, so his guests will not only be limited to those who have access to internet-enabled smartphones.
A fishing port and river in Japan's Okinawa was dyed red on Tuesday following the leak of a red food coloring liquid from a local beer factory. Officials from Orion Beer Factory, located some 700 meters from the fishing port, said the liquid was from a beer tank cooling system dyed red so that it could be identified if the water were to get into the tank. The liquid leaked into a nearby river through the rain gutters. The firm apologized for the incident and said the liquid posed no risks to human health. The cause of the liquid leak was still being investigated. And finally, on the program, tourists in the central German state of Hesse will be able to get a bit closer to the sky starting on July the 1st, when Germany's longest suspension bridge opens after 6 years of planning and construction. The bridge is 664 meters long with a height of up to 100 meters and a weight of 120 tons. Anchored into the ground with its 36 steel anchors, which have been drilled into the mountain below with a depth of 21 meters. The bridge has a carrying capacity of up to 750 people.
What you are looking here at is Swiss engineering under German scrutiny. The back and forth with 3D modeling and authorities and inspectors took 6 years. But now we are really at the end of a long journey on the one hand, and on the other hand, now we are expecting a lot of tourists to experience here this bridge. It's 150 tons of steel that has 36 anchors in the ground holding the whole construction. This construction can hold a hurricane category 2 with snow on it at the same time.
Wow, tempting, but no thank you. That's it on the program. Thank you for watching. I'm Jocko Rogers.